What is going on, guys? It's Adam aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. Today, I'm going to be covering a few things that everybody should be knowing about. If you were not aware, all of LA actually had a TV announcement that went over the air, essentially telling them to evacuate. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about Mr. Francis, the leader of the Catholic Church, essentially saying that mankind is experiencing the outbreak of WW3. We're also going to talk about the huge games that started today. And I'm talking about war games started by Vlad. He invited G and, of course, India. This is huge stuff. This is Vostok East that's getting started. So we'll start there. So first of all, Vlad has launched week-long military drills from today, the 1st to the 7th, involving forces from Xi's country and other nations, including India. An exercise that grows defense cooperation between as they both end up working together in close proximity. It says the Vladian Defense Ministry said that the Vostok 2022 exercise will be held until September 7th at 7 firing ranges in Vlad's Far East and the Sea of Japan. So we talked about this before as far as watching Japan and the things that are going on there. Essentially, they're going to be doing a ton of drills, and that will all be culminating right next to Japan. And of course, Japan has been pissed off about the whole thing as well. They are, of course, going through their own kind of amendments into their constitution. They are trying to get it to where they can just basically attack without being attacked. They are trying to get away from being a self-defensive only country. So that is something to watch. And then Vladian General Staff Chief General Valery Gerasimov will personally oversee the drills, which will involve troops from several ex-Soviet nations, Xi's country, India, Laos, Mongolia, Nicaragua, and Syria. It said, of course, that the Defense Ministry noted that the Vlad and Xi's navies will practice joint action to protect sea communications areas of marine economic activity and support for ground troops in littoral areas. Now that's a huge thing for the next day, for the next 7 days. Obviously, we have already covered just last night. Last minute, other drills were announced, and then of course we have pretty much every country in the world in some sort of war game. So this is a big deal. And then, of course, we have Francis, the POPE, the big leader of the Catholic Church, has declared mankind is experiencing the outbreak of World War III. It says in his address to Polish-speaking pilgrims at the end of his weekly audience yesterday, the pontiff encouraged prayers in a special way for the people of UKR. He said, "Tomorrow you will remember the anniversary of the outbreak of the second WW, which so painfully marked the Polish nation. Today, we are experiencing the third." So, by the way, this is kind of funky that he is saying today is, so by the way, he said, tomorrow you will remember the anniversary of the outbreak of WW2. So a specific date. He's saying, you know, tomorrow is this anniversary from the outbreak, and of course that goes back to a real date. He said, today we are experiencing the third. Today on September 1st. Now, I just want to point out that we obviously haven't seen anything crazy happen today, but obviously Vostok East starts today. So I thought that that was really, really weird that he said today. Are we going to remember today as something special? Why is he saying today generally? And that's the point that kind of got me on that, is that he specifically lists a date that everybody will remember that started WW2. And then, of course, today, he says we're experiencing the third. It says, may the memory of past experiences spur you to cultivate peace in yourselves and families and in social and international life. In April, Francis said humanity is moving towards WW3 like it is unavoidable. And he has frequently warned of imminent global conflict. It comes as the Vatican moved to defend Francis from allegations he has not come down hard enough on Vlad for its invasion of UKR. I also want to point out, just a few days, their church actually basically did a decree that went out to every single entity connected to the main church and said, you need to send all of your money back to the main city. You need to send all of the money back to the main church bank. All around the world, all of the entities were told under basically a reason that was in their decrees to basically send all that money back. Why would they be doing that? Why would they be getting money from all over the world and saying, hey, you have until September 30th to put all of that money back? The reason they gave was just basically something in their rule books saying that they can. It didn't really give an exact reason why. So I want to point that out. And then today, emergency alert telling all of LA, Eastern North Pacific Ocean to evacuate was sent in error. So this was a mistake. Now, you know my feelings on these accidental alerts. Ever since Hawaii, we have had so many. And before that, we had never heard of this. As far as these really bad, Broward County, in fact, I covered in California, did a really, really big one to an entire county, telling them to evacuate, and then they realized it was a mistake. It said an immediate evacuation notice for the alert system that interrupted regular TV programming in the Los Angeles area on Wednesday, telling the entirety of LA County and the Eastern North Pacific Ocean area to evacuate due to a fire. It was, of course, sent in error by Los Angeles County, the Ventura County Sheriff said. By the way, that means that I believe that same county has done two. I know Broward County did one, and I think that they did one back in 2018. How do they send out an accidental TV error like this? With Hawaii, we learned that these are not as easy to send out as you think. And it really weirds me out that they have ever done this in the first place, because there are so many safeguards against doing this. With Hawaii, at first, if you remember, back when the Hawaii false missile alert happened, they essentially said that, oh, whoops, the wrong button was pushed. That was the official story for like a week. And they said, oh yeah, the wrong button was pushed. But then we found out there's no like Staples button that they push for this alert that goes out to every cell phone. It was a drop-down menu. Then it was a warning saying, are you sure you want to do this? And then another drop-down menu specifying the sub-series, and then another drop-down menu. And they went over this once they investigated it, because people didn't stop asking questions. My video and all sorts of other people on the internet just wouldn't shut up about it. So they investigated and showed, yeah, it wasn't a button. It was a drop-down, and there was all these warnings, and then they had to change their story a ton. They said that they fired the guy. Then he got sideswiped. Then he went sideways and got promoted. Then he wasn't there. Then they tried to make the entire office that was in charge of the emergency management. And again, remember, the official story was that they were all on Netflix. They were all on their phone. They weren't paying attention. And that's what led to this false missile alert, right? They basically threw them all under the bus. But they also told us that if that was true, that basically the people that are running these emergency alerts are sitting back with their feet up on the table and they're not paying attention, right? So if that is true, then that's not good. And if it's not true, it's also not good, because how would he do it accidentally? Then the guy who actually did it says, the thing is I really thought it was real, and that's why I did it. So he said he thought it was real. So the reason I bring this up is after that was one of the first times that ever happened. People were throwing their babies into manholes. People were punching people off of motorcycles and driving to the opposite end of Hawaii. People thought they were going to perish. People said, we have nowhere to go. People got off on their boats and just kept rolling. One person didn't come back for 3 days because they didn't have a radio. They were on a simple rowboat. They just rowed out and never came back. These kind of stories are all over. Jim Carrey wrote a book about it because he was on the island, and he said it changed his life. So that was one of the first main ones. After that, just a few days later, Japan had the same thing happen. So that's when I was like, wait a second, this doesn't add up. How did we have a false missile alert and then Japan had a false missile alert? Then all of these other fake alerts went out, mistake alerts went out. And it was like Broward County said evacuation. And by the way, I covered all of these. If you do false alert, then you will go back through my videos and you'll see I covered every one of them. And we haven't had one for a while. So when I saw this, I thought that was like, how the heck did they do this? And how did they send out such a big one through TV? This was all over TVs. People were freaking out. And it did not say it was a warning. It said, this is not a test. This is immediate evacuation notice for the following counties. And it said, of course, Los Angeles. It of course said Eastern North Pacific Ocean. And it kept repeating. If you look at the actual notice, it's pretty freaky. So again, that was said to have been sent by air. With everything else that's going on right now with the other things, I just think it is most definitely kind of crazy right now. So make sure to follow our channel. We're going to be following closely. Obviously, I hope that nothing is going on. Obviously, I hope that everything is going to be ponies and rainbows. But again, that's not necessarily going to be the case. With the leader of the Catholic Church basically pulling all the money in 30 days, pulling it from all over the world and putting it back, and then saying we are witnessing today the outbreak of the WW3. Remember, those drills are used to move massive amounts of troops with little alarm. So hopefully that's not what the case is. But again, I'm not trying to scare people. I'm just trying to tell it how I see it. And that's my opinion. If you don't like it, if you don't like scary movies, don't watch. Make sure to go to marfooglenews.com/energy. If you're worried about power outages and things like that, especially in California, we've been covering all the blackouts. Make sure to go to marfooglenews.com/energy. You can get a solar generator there at a discount. Through us, you pay less and you're helping our independent channel. That's again, marfooglenews.com/energy, INERGY. Make sure to check it out in the description. All of the links that I just talked to you about will be over on marfooglenews.com. So we have sources and a bibliography for today's video and for our show later. We have so much stuff going on today that tonight's show is going to be packed. In fact, we have so much news. We're going to be moving call-ins tomorrow. So today we can go over everything that is happening. There is so much. You don't want to miss it. Go over to our sister channel on YouTube, Marfoogle TV, to our live show where we'll be talking about this and everything else in depth. All right, thank you guys, and thank you for everybody that popped in. Appreciate you guys. Over 2,000 showed up live. Love you guys. Be safe, be prepared, and Marf out.